Hi everyone. So let's continue working with JavaScript, and we will see some of the common things that you have done in other programming languages like variables, arrays, functions, loops, uh, classes, objects. Okay, so we will go through these concepts and we will see how they can be coded in JavaScript also. Okay, so firstly there is a concept of variables. So there are actually multiple ways to create a variable. Let's say c equals to 20, where d equals to 30, and where f let e equals to 50. Okay, so you can declare a variable without using the where or the let keyword. So this actually makes it a global variable. So as of now there is no scope. We are not inside any function, we are not inside any class, or we are not inside any block. So block will be of a for block or a if block or a while block. So when you use the keyword var, that actually creates a variables that have a function scope, and using let you will create variables that have a block scope. Okay, so let's try to create a function, and we will see what happens in this case. Let's say there is a function and name of the function is fun, and here I see, okay, let's say let a equals to 5, and I see if a equals to 5, and I will say let b equals to 10, and let me do console.log inside the function, and let me say I'm having b, and here I say console.log outside the block. Okay, so inside the block, and here you are outside the block, and let me say here, let's see what is the value of b. So let's try to call this function fun. Okay, now there are you can also call this function fun from the web browser. Okay, so let's make the function called to fun, and here you can see so when you are doing this b, you are actually getting this in the output, and inside the function you are getting the value of b as 10. So that would mean this particular b is not defined outside this particular if block. So that means this b actually has a block scope. Okay, so maybe let's make it something else. Let's say this is f, and here you output f. So in this case you won't get the value of f. Okay, so let's call the function fun. Okay, and it says f is not defined in line number 26. So here you get an error. So this is line number 26, and here the value of f is not defined. So what you need to do, you need to take it as a var. So var will make sure that this particular variable has a scope that is a function scope. So this entire variable should be accessible inside the function, and if I call the function fun here, okay, you can see inside it is 10 and outside it is also 10. That means f is now defined uh, outside the block as well. Okay, so let has a block scope, and this var has a function scope. Okay, and if I do something like this here, console.log f, and still it may not work now. So let me make a call to function fun, and if I do console.log f, so you will see that f is not defined at line number 30. So this is line number 30, and here f is not accessible. So what you need to do, you need to make it a global variable. You say f is 10 or f is, let's say, 100, and at line number 30 you can see this is the global f, and let's try to run the code. Okay, so global f as a value of 100, and it is same at all three locations. So I hope the concept of variables is clear, and this is how you define a function inside JavaScript. A function can accept certain parameters. For example, if you want to write a function to, let's say, find the square root of a number. Okay, let's say square root of a number n. Okay, so you can give it some variables, and you can say return. So there is an inbuilt function called sqrt, I guess, and you can just return that value. Okay, so let's try to reload the page, and let me call this function square root, and I give the number 10. Okay, so it should be like this. So I get the value 3.16. Okay, so whatever is the return value of the function, that I am going to get in this particular case. For example, there could be another option. I can say console.log, and here I say maths.square root 10. So this function will actually print the square root instead of returning the square root. So let me call this function now. Let's reload the page, clear everything up, and it's a square root of 10. Okay, so now you can see you're getting two things. One is the output. So this output is coming from console.log, and the second value is actually undefined. So undefined is nothing but it's the return value of the function. So if you say return 5, this function will actually return a value of 5. Okay, let's do square root of let's say 10. So this function is outputting this, and it's returning a value 5. Okay, so you do not explicitly need to define what is the return type. You can even return a string or an object. Okay, you can say return hello, and if I now call this function square root of let's say 100, I get 10, and I get hello in the return value. Okay, so this is how we can work with functions. So let's talk about one more concept that is related to functions. This concept is called hoisting. Okay, let's talk about a concept called function hoisting. Okay, so there are actually two ways to define a function. So one way is this, okay, and another way is like this. I can say where sqrt of let's say number n, this is equal to a function, and here I can say you again return this thing. Okay, you can say console.log in second square root function, and here you can say in first square root function, console.log in first square root function. So let's say I'm not doing anything in these two functions, and both the functions are just having a single console.log statement. Okay, so let's see what is the difference in these two ways. So let's make two function calls. I will say square root of let's say 10, and I say sqrt of 10. Okay, square root of n, let's say n. Okay, so the first function call and the second function call should ideally call the first function and the second function. Okay, so let's see. So you can see we are able to call the first function, and we are also able to call this second function. So if I just type something like this, square root of 10, this will make the first function call, and if I just type something of this type, it will make the second function call. Okay, so but there is a difference. So if I just take these calls at this particular location, the first function call will still work, the second function call will not work. Let's see why it happens. Okay, so you can see the first square root function is still getting called, and for the second it says it's not a function, and this error is at line number 32. So this is line number 32. So it says this function is not defined. So why does this happen is because of a concept called hoisting. Okay, so when you define functions using this notation, you have used the word keyword and followed by the name of the function and any arguments it accepts. So what JavaScript does, it takes all these functions to top of the code. Okay, so this function goes to the top of the code. So you have a function, and then you have all the statements that are like this. they will come after the function. Okay, so automatically functions which are defined in this manner, they are moved to the top of the code before they are called. Okay, and this concept is called hoisting. Okay, like you have a flag hoisting concept, flag hoists on the top. Similarly, functions will move on the top, but only the first type of the functions are hoisted. Not all functions are hoisted, and these type of functions will not be hoisted. So that's why you will see that this code remains here, and this code will not work because the function is defined after it is called. Okay, so this will still work because this function will move to the top automatically. So this is one concept that I wanted to discuss. So in order to make this call work, you must call it after it is defined. Okay, so this is like one concept, and let's talk about some more concepts in JavaScript. Okay, so let's see how to work with arrays from the next video.